Hello, today's presentation is about Module 5, which is Food Marketing and Satisfaction, because we know that food marketing and satisfaction with the food and food service operations in institutional settings is paramount. It is what most food service settings get evaluated against, and as part of your promotional product, theme, meal, event, you're going to have to engage in a process that includes basic principles of strategic planning and environmental scanning. But you're also going to participate in an activity that requires knowledge of the variables that predict patient or client satisfaction, and you're going to have to develop a tool to assist you with assessing your customer satisfaction of that event that you do. So this module is designed to give you that background, to get you talking about patient satisfaction so that you can have a better idea of what you need to do whenever it comes to your promotional product or your theme meal. So we have several competencies listed here in your readings. So your readings come from the Gregoire text for chapters 14 and 15, but you will see there are 3 research articles here. You really need to read and delve into these research articles because they are going to help you with the activity that is specific to this module. So the activity that is specific to this module is a food satisfaction discussion board. So the food service satisfaction discussion board, each student is expected to participate in this discussion board. So at a minimum, you must answer all the questions that are in the instructions. You need to comment to at least 3 of your peers, and if you see one of your peers is getting a lot of responses, try to find somebody who doesn't have as many. And then you have to respond to at least 1 comment that has been left to you. So let me go ahead and switch the share, and I'll bring up the directions for this assignment because we'll talk about it in more detail. All right, so this discussion board participation, like I mentioned, you'll have a week where I want you to go back and forth. This is a little bit different, guys, than you typically have in a discussion board where you post and just sit there and wait for the responses to roll in. I want this to be more of a conversation. So I will be reading them as you're having the conversation, and I might jump in and ask questions as part of the conversation as well. So you really need to be checking this discussion board as it's going through. As I mentioned, you need to answer all of the questions, comment to at least 3 of your fellow students' answers, and then provide a comment back to at least 1 person that commented to you. Now, expressing an opinion on this information is not enough. All opinions, all recommendations that you make as part of this discussion board need to be grounded in the literature. So yes, that means we need AMA style referencing. That's why I gave you those 3 research articles, and you may have to find more of them. So you're going to be evaluated on the consistency and quality of your posts in that weekly discussion board. So I'm really looking for how well you support your comments. So I'll look for depth of engagement as well as your critical thinking and inquiry. So your success on this discussion board hinges on keeping up with the readings and referring to them as much as possible when you respond. So here are some of the elements that relate to the quality of your post. So some of the criteria about your ideas, your arguments, your connection to the course materials and what you've been reading. So your references shouldn't just be the research articles, but it can also be from your textbook. Your contribution to the learning community. So how much are you broadening the conversation, not just saying, I agree. Your writing quality as well. And then I have several of the competency and performance indicators that I'll be looking for as well, like your conversational skills, being able to reflect on a situation and not talk about different courses of action. I'm going to make sure that you can identify and communicate what is quality, talking about indicators and benchmarks of quality, that you consider multiple factors in problem solving, you incorporate the thought process into critical thinking, you're engaging in reflective practice, you're translating and communicating research findings, as well as integrating your research through informed evidence practice, analyzing and formulating professional evidence based on the literature, and then applying effective and ethical communication skills. So that gives you a little bit of idea of what you're being evaluated on. So let me go back to the course, and I'm going to click on the discussion board. So whenever you go to the discussion board, you're going to go to the one measuring food service satisfaction. And I want you to describe how food service satisfaction is evaluated in your facility and any changes that have been made in the past 3 years that were the direct result of satisfaction scores. So this means that you need to go find out what has been going on and talk through some of those satisfaction scores. And then after you describe all the things that's been going on, so that's the question you have to answer, then people are going to chime in and ask you more questions about it, maybe give you some ideas of what could have been done better or differently, or maybe give you kudos for what you're doing and support it in the literature. So that gives you a little bit of idea about that. The other piece of this module is your part one of your product or promotional event. So that's part one of your theme meal. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up that document because I want to talk through it in a little bit of detail so you know what you need to do. So let me switch and share that with you. So part one is pretty intense. So part one's got a lot of information where you need to go through and really analyze the food service operation that you are doing. So I want you to do a market analysis. So in your market analysis summary, and you can follow these headings when you write your paper, I do not mind if you follow these headings. The market analysis is used to analyze your competitors. Now you might say, well, who's my competitor? I'm in a hospital. I mean, do I really have competition? Yeah, you do. You have the competition is people leaving the hospital to go get food somewhere else. Or even the competition could be if patients' families are bringing in food. That's a competition to you. Or you can have a more obvious form of competition where it could be something like you're doing a coffee bar and Starbucks is right across the street. So you need to figure out what your product or promotional event is and what your competition would be. If you're going to do a theme meal, what's going to work against you? Is there something else that's going on? So give me an idea of what your market is. I had one student ask me about long-term care, saying, really, is there anything that is competition in long-term care? It's the only place they have to go to get their meals. Think about it this way. In long-term care, your competition in food service is anything that keeps the patient or the resident from consuming an adequate amount. So is there something going on with the menu? Is it the setting? Is it the type of way they feed people? What is your market and what is preventing you from providing the best meals possible and getting your clients, residents, patients to consume an adequate diet? So that's a lot of words just to say, sometimes the market's not quite so obvious and you have to really think about it a little bit. It won't always be lined up as clearly as you would hope that it would be. All right, so then you do your market analysis summary. I have a lot of detailed directions there. And then I want you to do a SWOT analysis. And so in your SWOT, you do strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so whenever I want you to do an internal and external analysis of anything that might be affecting your organization's ability to compete or to function in that competitive market that you described in 1.1. 1.2 is market segmentation. That's actually the demographics of the facility of who you traditionally serve. And typically, we're going to be talking about the product or the promotional event that you're doing. So I'm not so much concerned about the patient food service if your event's going to be in the cafeteria for guests and for staff. So make sure you know which market you're talking about. And then who your target market is. Who do you want to reach out to with this promotional event? So 2.0 is all about the product or promotional event. This is where you're going to tell me in a lot of detail about that product or promotional event. Are you going to have a smoothie bar? Maybe you're going to do some type of fun event for a holiday. Is it a full-blown theme meal? This is where you're going to describe that to me. And then you're going to also tell me about the foods you have planned to serve on that day. Then you're going to tell me about your marketing and sales strategy, because I want to know how you're going to get people in to come consume the product that you're promoting. So you'll have to develop your marketing strategy and develop a sales forecast. You need to identify the numerical goal for increasing revenue and your justification for that goal. So is it really high? Is it maybe just marginally higher than what they normally sell? Is it a flat budget that you just want to break even, and why you want to be there? Now this is the part that relates to the module of customer satisfaction. So this module 5 is where part 4 is. This is where you need to, it has two components. You have to develop, not copy and paste, a customer satisfaction sensory evaluation tool, and then later on you'll present the results. The presentation of the results doesn't happen until section 7 after it's all completed and you've collected those results. But for this piece, guys, you have to develop a sensory evaluation tool. So there's information in Chapter 15. I provided an article and an additional research article. I want you to develop a sensory evaluation tool that will evaluate your product on items such as texture, temperature, maybe the setting if you did some type of special event, any promotional items that you may have given away. You must have at least 3 variables in each of the following areas. So you must assess 3 different things related to the food that's been sold and 3 different things of the facility or the service that the person received during that time. So this is going to be a satisfaction tool that you'll actually have to use and deliver on the day of your event. You also need to get an overall acceptability and likelihood of purchasing again. All right, so that is part 1. I'm just going to review really quick, so if you have any questions. Market analysis, who's your market? SWOT analysis, who's your competition, going through all that information. Market segmentation, what are the demographics? Who are the kind of people that normally come into the setting? But who are you going to target with this product or promotional event? Then tell me what that product or promotional event is and what you plan to serve at that product or promotional event. Then you're going to tell me how you're going to market it. How are you going to get people in there, and how much do you predict that you're going to sell? You must develop a customer satisfaction tool based on the literature. So you actually have to go reference Chapter 15, at least the article I listed, and at least one other where you use the literature to help you develop this tool. I don't want some random tool that you just made up all on your own without reading the literature. But you're going to have to develop this tool, and then you're going to hold on to it, and you're going to use it when you actually implement your product. So that's going to be later in Step 7. So if you have any questions about anything in Module 5, please don't hesitate to let me know. I am happy to help you and answer any questions you might have.